Hi, I'm Michael Boyajian, and I'm going to do just one more video today. I'm for some reason I'm in the mood to talk about the book about books, which is titled um, "Readers, Writers, or Bibliophiles: Mike and Jerry's Life with Books." And basically, it's one of the books, including the Buddhist book, that's on hold right now. I've got 4 or 5 books on hold because of my hand injury. As soon as that heals, I'll get back to getting them out, but not at the pace I had been going since late November, when I churned out 12 Mike and Jerry books from the end of November to almost the present time here in October. Probably finished up in September, actually, but my hand has to heal. Okay, I need my hand. But anyhow, I want to talk. The last time I was on, I talked about authors' homes in primarily the northeast of the United States. I could talk about a few now overseas, particularly in London. They are very proud of their authors and of all sorts, not just fiction authors, but nonfiction, meaning economists and, a scientist. But in fact, Westminster Abbey is a great place to go. They have what's called Poets Corner there, and a lot of the authors over the last 500 years are either interred there or memorialized there. I know when we were there, Jerry was standing on Darwin's tomb, and she yelled out, "Save us!" Yeah. Anyhow, one of the interesting homes there, it's not real. It's just happens to be 221 Baker Street, which, as many of you would know, is the Sherlock Holmes address in the books. And they've turned it into a museum, and they have a Bobby outside, and what's inside is all kind of like you're in that Sherlock Holmes house with Dr. Watson, and they even let you sit down at in some large chairs with each of their hats in front of you on a coffee table. Anyhow, they have souvenirs and books there as well. Another home is Dickens' home. It's one of his homes. He had many. He moved around a lot, but one of his homes is still preserved, and I think it. I don't know. I think I heard maybe it had problems during the COVID crisis, but maybe it survived. I don't know. I really can't see them giving up on Dickens' house. Anyhow, the other thing that they have there is the Globe Theater, which is a recreation of what they suspect the Shakespeare's Globe Theater looked like. He didn't own it. That's where he performed most of his plays. Where most of his plays were performed, and it's a great, beautiful. You get a good idea of what the theaters were like in those days. I mean, that's the actual part about it. It's actually what a theater looked like. It's open air, and it's quite beautiful. And anyhow, then leaving off in London. There's the pub called the Old Cheshire Cheese Company, which my late wife Jerry found in a New York Times article. And this is where all the authors going back to 1650 forward to 1890 or so, all hung out. Mark Twain was even there. And then some of the very early English authors after Shakespeare. And it's a terrific place. You go down the stairs into the bowels of the earth in the middle of London. And, they have little places carved out where you can sit and have a beer, which Jerry and I did. We drank back then, 2007. I gave up drinking 2008. But anyhow, again, all these cities have, especially London and Paris, have literary walking tour books that you can get, and they got about 20 tours in each book. So you got plenty to do there. Best is to just pick out your favorite and do that. I know for the UK, they also have a book for literary tours all over the UK, not just in London. Anyhow, in Paris, one of the tours will take you through the neighborhood where most of the expats had apartments, and I know the first one that comes to mind for me is the Hemingway house, and that's also famous because not only did Hemingway live there, but the American revolutionaries worked on the Treaty of Paris there at the end of the Revolutionary War, which was to be signed by the British and the Americans. And I believe it was John Jay, John Adams, and Ben Franklin hanging out in that house working on the draft. And so that makes it extra interesting. In Greece, you have Cape Soyon, which is the southernmost tip of Europe, and on it is a prominent, on top of which is a temple, the Temple of Poseidon, which overlooks the ocean there. And the story with that temple is that a king was waiting for his son's return. Jason and the Argonauts. His son was Jason, and they were supposed to change the mast to a certain color, so the father, the king, would know that his son had survived. And they forgot to do that, so the father thought the son had died and jumped off and killed himself into the ocean. But anyhow, the interesting thing there is, and again, we didn't notice until afterwards. We had to Photoshop our way to find this thing, which is Byron's name. He scratched into one of the pillars there, and you can find it. It's I think it's the second pillar up, and it's at the bottom, maybe the second or third section of the pillar. The columns on these temples weren't solid, straight up and down. They were segments that just fit on top of each other. That's how they really built them. But you can find Byron himself, a champion of Greece and one of the great world poets out of Britain. And one other thing in Athens, he's not an author, but he's very noteworthy. And while we were looking for the bookstores in Athens that were famous, which are greatly reduced from what they were. They had one bookstore that was 6 stories high. Now it's only 1 story. But we found an Athenian gentleman befriended us as we were looking, and took us to them. And as we were going, he gave us a quick tour. And one of the homes he pointed out, buildings, was Schliemann's, the famous archaeologist who, got everybody back into discovering the ancient sites, like he did Troy, and he also did Agamemnon's home in Greece, Mycenae. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong, and I know the Greeks have their own way of pronouncing it, but you get the idea. Agamemnon I'm pronouncing right. King Agamemnon. They got the mask of Agamemnon he discovered there, which is not really Agamemnon's mask. Is dated to a different time period. But again, it was Schliemann's house. It's now the Coin Museum in Athens. And I'm such a dope that I did not take a picture of it, while he was pointing it out. I just, one of those moments. Anyhow, thanks for listening. Have a nice day.